I mean, the Italian chapel is very symbolic. It kind of is representative of the triumph of hope over experience. It's about a common humanity. It acts as a site of reconciliation between former enemies.
My name is John Muir. I've always lived in Orkney, more or less. I've always known of the chapel and of the Italian prisoners.
Over 40,000 Italian prisoners of war were put to work on kind of work of national importance. This could involve land reclaim, agriculture. In the case of the Orkneys, it was to work on the construction of the Churchill barriers.
October 1939, very soon after the war started, a German submarine came into the Sound here, surfaced just out here in the water, went into Scapa Flow and sunk the Royal Oak. The Royal Oak is still lying on the bottom of the sea now with 834 bodies. Churchill decided that more of the entrances into Scapa Flow had to be made absolutely secure so that such a tragedy again couldn't be repeated. And he instructed that roadways had to be built between 4 of the islands. At the time, there was a great shortage of manpower because all the British men were away fighting in the war. And at the same time, many hundreds of Italian prisoners had been captured in North Africa, and they were taken here purely to help with the construction of the Churchill barriers. Life on the island at that time must have been fairly hard for the men. They were away from home. It was winter time when they arrived here. Sunny Italy was just a memory for them. They just had to make the most of a very hard life. A man by the name of Domenico Chiacchetti, he lived in a very small village in the north of Italy. Chiacchetti was a very humble man. He would have been a man that I think other prisoners would have looked up to.
Amongst the Italian prisoners of war who were based in the Orkneys, there was a group who were keen to do something of a more artistic or creative nature.
Domenico Chiacchetti approached the commandant with a request that he provide them with a Nissen hut that they could use as a chapel.
One of the British Army officers who was overseeing the Italian PoW labour force gave permission for them to go ahead with this initiative.
He had visited Italy on a number of occasions before the war and he could speak some Italian. He obliged and he actually gave them 2 Nissen huts. You can see now the intricate paintwork that Chiacchetti did in the chapel here. He was a very peaceful man, and you can see some of the elements of his idea of peace with the Christ child holding the olive branch. This cherub on the right-hand side is putting its short sword back into its sheath. We have the dove of peace on the ceiling. Different tradesmen, stonemasons, blacksmiths, electricians, they all helped Chiacchetti with the interior decoration of the chapel. The wonderful wrought iron work that was done by the Palumbi, the blacksmith. Palumbi had to build his own forge. He had no forge. He made his forge out of 2 empty tar drums. And when he left Orkney, he left, you can see on the floor here, a little metal heart. And he said that he left his heart in Orkney. Immediately after the war, it was neglected. The door was hanging off its hinges and the sheep were going out and in. It was almost demolished indeed when the rest of the camp was demolished, and had it not been for the foreman of the demolition squad, who was a local man, he just said there was no way that he was going to be responsible for demolishing this. Otherwise it would have gone with the rest of the camp. The friendship between the local people and the descendants of the prisoners is still ongoing.